This is the website for Praxis, a network state funded by Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Balaji, and Sam Altman.
Conservatives and these guys, hand in hand, everybody. Association with neo-Nazism and the far and the alt-right. It's all connected, people. It's all connected.
Seriously, it's all connected. You are about to be ruled by actual Nazis. All they do is hate other people that are not white.
You're in good company. Yeah. I don't know much of the specifics about this video from, to give her credit, from BlondePolitics, her or her team. I don't know. There could be a number of people behind this show, but I definitely wanted to see this. This is going to go into what we're going to spend a lot of our time talking about this morning, which is going to be what Elon Musk is doing to the federal government right now. Very scary shit. He's doing so many things that are illegal, and thankfully there's already been judicial rulings that have blocked a number of the things he's trying to do. But what I want people to understand is that the trying is the issue. The trying is the problem. They're doing the Steve Bannon thing. They're flooding the zone with all these things that they're doing all at once. People are getting outraged over Trump's commitment to take over Gaza, which is something that there's a chance he could be kind of talking out of his ass on, and maybe this isn't something he's going to actually do, but they could be doing that kind of shit in an effort to make the Elon Musk thing a little less obvious, right? It's the type of shit that they don't make a big deal about. That's what you got to pay the most attention to in this type of administration, I feel like. I think that's a big part of their strategy, is to just try and make it hard to keep track of things, right? So this video apparently gets into some of the plan behind what Musk and his little Doge boys are probably up to.
So I felt like a boot off the throat. Like every morning I wake up happier than the day before, because all of these forms of repression that I just had gotten used to.
Hallelujah.
Disappeared so far up their own woke asses. If those people stay in control, I think that the Republicans could have an electoral majority as far as the eye can see.
It's really the dawn of a new crypto era.
The future is gonna be amazing!
More than any other sector, the tech industry invested in this election. Crypto accounts for more than half the corporate spend, with no other industry coming close. It's not unusual for industry to use their money to buy influence, and at a superficial glance, that's all the tech VC world wants. They want lower taxes and friendly regulation. They want the head of the Federal Trade Commission out. They want the tech industry to be responsive to the Future Commodities Trading Commission, not the Securities Exchange Commission. Except that's not all they want. Behind the money and influence flowing into the Trump campaign are a set of bizarre beliefs and a dark agenda.
I'm not just MAGA. I'm dark, gothic MAGA.
You see, the tech bros of Silicon Valley believe that the American empire is on the verge of collapse. Silicon Valley wants to speed this up, but use the coming administration to create safe landing zones for them and their cash, where they can also run their own governments. And what is so annoying about this is it makes me sound crazy. It makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist. But I'm talking about crazy people. I am talking about the guy who wants to colonize Mars. I am talking about the guy who said he gave up on democracy in 2009. These tech bros justify their point of view because they believe that that's the natural place in society. The courageous geniuses on the new frontier. I'm not speculating. These men say it. They say it on podcasts and at conferences and in interviews and in blog posts. Some are quiet. Some are very, very loud, but they all are on board.
And I think that if we want to increase freedom, we want to increase the number of countries.
If you want to replace the elite that you have today, what you need to do is you need to have a better elite. And there's a way to do this. It's been done before.
We get kind of money and property right, and that it's a strong foundation for building, kind of a world that we all want to live in. We're seeing, some, breakdown of those in the real world in the United States lately.
I'm definitely very interested in ways that you can sort of tokenize real estate and actual physical land to create better forms of society and governance. I do think America is in slow decline right now. I would like us to all in crypto think about how we actually go create physical places in the world to preserve freedom over the long term. I think that's ultimately crypto's destiny.
The people of Mars will be more enlightened and will not fight amongst each other too much.
It's basically tech libertarian futurism, an ideology around technology, and including technology enhancing human freedom.
I am trying to fix government in the U.S. The point was like, let's have a new government.
Where do we sort of go from the wisdom of crowds to the madness of crowds? We're far too far on the side that you can describe as collectivist, centralized, Borg-like, conformist, and also generally just simply incorrect.
I think that what Elon's doing is showing a path to fighting back. The left-wing elite's going to be kicking and screaming the whole way.
Mark Cuban, one of the more normal billionaires, had this to say about this particular group of men that I'm talking about.
What's happened in Silicon Valley is insane.
Right.
It's not so much a support thing, it's more like a takeover thing, trying to put themselves in a position to have as much control as possible. They want Trump to be the CEO of the United States of America, and they want to be the board of directors that makes him listen to them.
Now, this hypothetical board includes a couple of power players that I think are worth keeping an eye on, namely Peter Thiel, Elon Musk.
What was that movie called with Dan Aykroyd? The Coneheads. This guy's a fucking conehead, dude. He's not even of this world. These guys are all bald, and I think putting them together is awfully weird, but this is a good list to memorize. I did want to pause it on this because I couldn't help but see this guy's fucking head. I think it was a solo stream a while back. I showed a video of Peter Thiel, and he's a very strange man. Just lots of bizarre ideas of, sort of like a techno utopia. It's a very strange man. We'll let him keep going.
Brian Armstrong, Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, and David Sachs. In this video, I'm going to try and lay out what I think these people are doing behind the scenes. If you do want to dive further into this topic, I recommend looking at the work of Gil Duran. I have linked his blog below. This is his beat, and he's amazing at it. This man is named Balaji Srivastava. Like Beyonce, he tends to only go by his first name. Balaji is highly involved in the tech scene, and while not a billionaire himself, he is friends with a lot of them. He's a former partner of Andreessen Horowitz. He is the former CTO of Brian Armstrong's Coinbase. Thiel actually recommended Balaji to be the head of the FDA during the first Trump administration. Balaji wrote a book. It's called The Network State: How to Start Your Own Country. In that book, he talks about how to break nation states apart into smaller territories, which can then be run like corporations.
What I mean by Silicon Valley's ultimate exit. It basically means build an opt-in society, ultimately outside the US, run by technology. And this is actually where the Valley is going.
You see, like many in the industry, Balaji is a disruptor. He is interested in disrupting the current idea of nationhood through the creation of a network of sovereign, tech-run territories protected by military-grade security. Balaji wasn't the first person to come up with this idea, not even in the tech scene, but he was the first person to present it in a more palatable way. The idea actually comes from someone named Curtis Yarvin. In part,
just pointing out this is on Tucker Carlson today, so to go ahead and connect the dots that I'm sure she's going to be connecting, conservatives and these guys hand in hand. Everybody, they're working together. I mean, it's obvious. It's happening right in front of us. It's out in the open. It's not like I'm making any sort of discovery here. I'm just saying, pay attention. Just pay attention.
This is why that Trump wants like places like Greenland and Canada, is because of the resources that are there that these tech billionaires can exploit.
Yes. Yep. Precisely. Yeah. That they can use to power this dream, this desire that they have, and to them, the physical borders are not as important as them establishing it. So therefore, if we end up wanting to try and annex Canada, which could legitimately be something that they try to do. because
have you seen the leaked audio from Trudeau today?
I have, and they're preparing for it.
Yeah.
They're
ready for genuinely concerned.
Longer,
like it's a real thing.
They no longer see it as purely joking. We've been telling you people. I mean, seriously, we've been telling you. I know our stream didn't start up till after the election, but like the people around me, some of my coworkers, not all of them, some of my coworkers, and friends, definitely my friends, and people that are in my family. We've been telling you guys for a while that this is essentially going to be utilizing fascism to stage some sort of government takeover. Now, I was thinking that Trump would want to be more the captain of that ship, but it seems to me like he is listening to Elon. It seems to me like Elon has established himself as, I'm not going anywhere and you're listening to me now. That's kind of how it's playing out in my eyes.
He bought him. I mean, obviously.
He bought him the election. Yeah, he bought him the election.
Wrote, the basic idea of patchwork is that as the crappy governments we inherited from history are smashed, they should be replaced by a global spiderweb of tens, even hundreds of thousands of sovereign and independent mini-countries, each governed by its own joint stock corporation without regard to the residents' opinions. Patchwork is a reboot of the current system in order to install a new operating system. Yes, Yavin is a software developer with a company named Urbit, invested in by Peter Thiel. He refers to these small territories as patches, but he's flexible about how they might run, maybe like a corporate urban space or a city-state like Athens. These corporate dictatorships would use all-seeing surveillance to protect their citizens and enforce their laws. There would be biometric IDs. If you're poor, you will have to move to another patch. Or the poor could be ground up and used as biodiesel or locked into a virtual reality prison. Now, Yavin said he was joking about the biodiesel thing, but not about the prison thing. So I'm not sure if he was joking about the biodiesel, which gives us an understanding of why Balaji had to come up with a more appealing way to present this idea. Balaji has less about dictatorship and mass incarceration and more about freedom and opportunity. A lot of people in the industry acknowledge that Balaji's ideas are a little out there.
This is Balaji.
Yeah, this is Balaji.
And I would dismiss them too if those same people weren't actively funding them. Millions of dollars are being funneled into these projects as we speak. This is the website for Praxis, a network state funded by Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Balaji, and Sam Altman.
Pretty alarming, dude.
Shared capital fund, Pronomus, which is dedicated to funding the creation of network cities.
Oh, I feel like I should recognize this place.
The website for Praxis says, as local communities...
I think... So they're talking about all these takeovers and with these tech billionaires and things like that. But the places that we've been hearing a lot, that we're worried about Trump and his administration like taking over or like invading like countries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These tech billionaires, they want to actually set up things that like these states in these countries that have all these resources, like Greenland, or Canada, or even now recently the Gaza Strip area. They want these areas as possible points to where they can set up their tech utopias, quote unquote. But that's why we're hearing these talks, because these people actually want these lands so that they can create these. I don't even know what to call them, really. I don't even want to call them like a state or an independent nation or anything like that. But man, it just reminded me of like feudalism. That's all it's reminding me of. It's like a form of feudalism.
Yeah, and it's like a cloud-based feudalism.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Like. And you know, the only country that they've talked about taking over that you didn't mention, and I think it doesn't fit the criteria in terms of resources per se, but is the Panama Canal. But what does the Panama Canal? If Trump and you know, the United States will just say, if we have total control over the Panama Canal and China doesn't have any sort of, you know, play or regulatory or involvement in the trade through there, then what does that allow us to do? That allows us to essentially create a free trade route to South America, where you have, I think, a lot of these types of ideologies popping up too. So you know, it's one of those where maybe there's some, I don't think they want, you know, trade isn't something that Trump is going for, but I do think that ideologically, if they're talking about getting people in South American prisons and jails, people that they're deporting or people that they're otherwise exiling from the United States, if they want to get them in South American jail systems and whatnot, I mean, taking over the Panama Canal is going to help immensely with that, I believe. Wouldn't you agree? I mean,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I know that that's physical displacement of people. That's not exactly what they're talking about here. But when you were listing those countries, I thought, oh yeah, all those make sense in terms of like their resources. But then I'm like, why do they want the Panama Canal? And I sort of had to think about it for a minute.
It's a trade route. That's the main thing. It's a trade route and it's a point of control. Because everybody goes through there.
Right. And I think Trump's saying the quiet part out loud, which is that it lets us institute some control over China. Yeah. So
dissolve and nation states stumble, network states will ascend. The next global superpower will be a network state. The next America will be on chain. The stated goal of Praxis is to build a corporate government with a global footprint. It will have territories all over the world. Crypto will be its currency. The modern global system, once the greatest power in the history of man, has become a brittle, jerry-rigged contraption incapable of carrying out the most basic functions. As these governing institutions continue to degrade, people will come to realize that no one is truly on their side. As nation-states falter, network states become inevitable. I should mention that Pronomus Capital is funding the creation of other network states, many of which are further along than Praxis. Some examples are Prospera in Honduras, Afropolitan, Etana, and small farm cities in Africa, Metropolis in Palau, and I think Yangdrung City is planned for South Asia. On Pronomus's website, they claim, decades of research on economic development has shown that the primary determinant of prosperity is the quality of a country's laws and the integrity of its courts, administrators, and other legal institutions. When institutions are outmoded, corrupted, or failing, the result is untold human suffering. Yet upgrading national institutions is notoriously difficult. Our solution? Build the cities of tomorrow. Right now, they are creating cloud communities, virtual nations. Once they have access to land, they will get their citizens to migrate to that city. Have a look at the pledge that you sign when you join Praxis, which you can join right now, by the way. Pronomus isn't actually Peter Thiel's first flirtation.
I didn't read that.
Praxis.
Oops. As a citizen of Praxis, I pledge to embody our spirit of transcendence through heroic actions and thought. I commit to the creation of our new nation and our future city where our ideals and values will flourish. I pledge my time, resources, and energy to make this vision real.
Okay, so they want to make city states. Is basically what they want to do.
Right. Yeah. But you know, set up through networks and funded by crypto. Oh boy.
Why are people so on the crypto train? Like I don't understand. That shit's gonna crash. That's the end of crypto. It eventually crashes.
Well, I think there's a couple layers to that, right? First off, the people who see an I guess what would you say, a decentralized and unregulated form of currency, people who see that as a good thing are idiots. I don't know any other way to say it. They're idiots, and they've been sold this by tech billionaires. They've been sold on this by guys like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, these other guys that are big tech bros that are heavily promoting and heavily investing in crypto. I mean, Elon Musk literally out in the open did a pump and dump of Dogecoin, right?
Yeah.
That was out in the open. Trump himself, while basically right before and going into his first day or two in office, did a pump and dump of a meme coin, of a shit coin, is what I've heard other people call it. So,
I mean, what's her name? That
Melania.
Haley Welch. Haley Welch even did it.
She did that. Yeah, she pretty much destroyed her name overnight with that shit.
Yeah.
And what's worse is I think that because Musk was able to, there's some sort of loophole in the laws around that, where if you are directly if you're directly a part of the organizational structure or something behind that crypto and how that's formed and how that's branded and distributed and whatnot, if you're a physical part of it, you can get in big trouble, legally speaking. The reason Elon Musk didn't get in trouble for Dogecoin is because he's not got anything to do with Dogecoin other than just being a huge investor in that time, where he was trying to get other people to buy into it with him so that he could just get it as high as he wanted to and then sell everything he had in it and it's a rug pull, right? They call it a rug pull. So Haley did that, the Hawk Tua girl with Hawk Coin or whatever the fuck it was. She did that shit. But as far as I know, it was her brand, it was her thing. So she did it, but it sounds like she's in potentially going to face some legal trouble for that. I don't know. We'll see if she gets brought to justice under, who knows. I don't know if that would be some sort of civil suit where
that's what I'm thinking.
Where she could get sued and it has nothing. I mean, obviously, if there's any reason the federal government would have to sue her, I don't know if they're going to do it right now. I just don't think that's in their priority list.
No,
is going after people who steal with crypto. So,
because it would just mean that they go after themselves.
Well, it would create some difficult questions for them to answer around. Why aren't you policing yourselves on this?
If you're going to police others, but you're not going to police yourselves, that doesn't.
It's quite
sense. You fucking hypocrite.
Pretty hypocritical, and it's pretty easy to see that. Like, people aren't that dumb, Generally speaking, people would see that. Even people who voted for Trump, I think, would be like, "What the fuck?"
Which you can join right now, by the way. Pronomus isn't actually Peter Thiel's first flirtation with exiting democracy either. In 2009, he funded the Seasteading Institute.
I want to say some things on why I think seasteading is not just possible or desirable, but why it is actually necessary.
The Seasteading Institute envisioned building these floating cities in the ocean outside of government's jurisdiction where billionaires could live and create as they saw fit. This idea kind of ran out of steam because nobody wants to live at sea, especially not billionaires, which means they need land. But how do we get from a nation state to a network state?
And this is actually related to a fundamental concept in political science, the concept of voice versus exit. If a company or a country is in decline, you can try voice or you can try exit. Voice is basically changing the system from within, whereas exit is leaving to create a new system, a new startup, or to join a competitor sometimes.
There's another way that Balaji also talks about how this could possibly happen. He calls it tech Zionism.
Right. What I'm really calling for is something like tech Zionism. A movement supported by a global network to take back territory in the city, floor by floor, street by street, block by block, policeman by policeman. You have a foothold of private property, and you have a group membership of Grey Tribe membership and private property. You also issue T-shirts. The tribal lens is like a virtual reality filter. Every single thing can be tagged as gray or blue in the city. I mean, like literally. So gray is the future, red is the past, blue is the present. So blue stands against both the past and the future. They're against both the self-driving cars, and they don't want to go back to the 50s. They prefer OnlyFans, Me Too, BLM, Ukraine. The hard part is to take control of the streets. How can you fence off a street and make clear that it's under gray control? Take total control of your neighborhood, push out all blues, tell them they're as unwelcome as just as blues ethnically cleanse me out of San Francisco. Like, push out all blues, who has lost some territory in the cloud. They still control the land. Once gray starts taking back control of the land, that they're really going to howl. As they start losing, they're going to whistle for backup from California and eventually DC. Okay. They're going to try to get executive orders or things like that, which means you're going to need to have sympathizers at the level of California and DC who will side with you enough to block those actions, number one. And or number two, you actually get to the level of a sanctuary city and you say, I dare you.
Keep in mind, actions.
What he just said was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I think I need to go back to what I need to better understand who, because it sounds like it's who. It sounds like when he said, you mark blue, red, gray, whatever. It sounds like he was talking about like objects, but now he's talking about people. So I'm like, I need to really understand what you said. Who is who there?
What I'm really calling for is something like tech Zionism, a movement supported by a global network to take back territory in the city, floor by floor, street by street, block by block, policeman by policeman. You have a foothold of private property, and you have a group membership of Grey Tribe membership and private property. You also issue T-shirts. The tribal lens is like a virtual reality filter. Every single thing can be tagged as gray or blue in the city. I mean, like literally. So gray is the future, red is the past, blue is the present. So
he said every single thing can be tagged as gray, blue, or red. This is goofy shit. This is goofy shit.
Dude, I think this is, my God, I am starting to wonder, are they purposely trying to like bankrupt the United States so they can create these?
Yeah, that was her premise at the start of the video. Is she said that like it's essentially like that Peter, like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, that these guys are trying to get more control now so that they can accelerate something that they already see as inevitable, a downfall. It seems she's thinking that they're trying to make that happen faster, that they're trying to accelerate it, which attempting to dismantle federal agencies sounds like a pretty quick way to fucking do that.
So they're trying to dismantle all this and bring down the downfall of the United States so they can set up their city-state utopias from land. But also, they're going to utilize the most powerful military in the world to take over lands that are not theirs so they can create these city-states. All these abundant resources.
It sounds like it.
While also crashing the economy.
Yeah, I think that they've got it in their mind that the status quo, that establishment, anything in the establishment is just wrong and shouldn't exist. The thing that we have to rely upon is that I don't think that there's any the framers wouldn't have guessed anything they wouldn't have been able to predict like networked oligarchies or networked tribes, whatever the fuck he was talking about. That's super fucking weird.
That's just a creative power grab. That's all it is. Like, it's just them being creative with a power grab and they want to set up like the next America.
They're like
using these.
It's like setting up your own caste system, but using the network, using essentially the cloud. It sounds like. I imagine that the way that looks is, let's say that you have a household that's been marked blue, as he's just using his fucking example, a household that's been marked blue. They're not going to be considered a part of this network that the quote unquote grays are or whatever. Right. So I imagine that if these guys essentially are what it sounds like they're talking about setting up is a mixture of private property that's for certain types of people only, network spaces that are for certain types of people only. It's just from top to bottom. You can't even be friends between your group or what have you or something. I don't think he said those words, but that is what I'm gathering from this. That is what I'm getting out of this, is that he's talking about creating a societal, like, I don't think ethno state, but maybe to a degree,
It's probably going to be like, it's going to be a state that's for the wealthy. It's what's going to turn into.
Yeah.
It's only wealthy people are going to be able to live there. And anybody outside of that is, be marked as one of those blue or reds, which is what they're going to qualify as less than the grays. It sounds like, from what I'm gathering
in
here.
some way, shape, or form. That's kind of where I'm at. It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
So.
And by the way, if you're a Republican and you're asking yourself, like, what's wrong with this? They are purposely trying. I'm gonna do more research on this, but like, it sounds like they're trying to purposely dismantle the United States.
Yeah.
And it to be bring about its downfall. Yeah. If I know it sounds crazy, honestly. Like billionaires getting together to do this, but they have enough money and pool to actually pull this kind of shit off.
Possibly. Yeah.
Like, I can see this being a fucking problem. And are you willing to sit through what's going to be another Great Depression? Because it sounds like what they're aiming for is another Great Depression.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because they're just like the right, the right has shown over the last handful of years, especially with Trump at the helm, is that it seems that they are more inclined on getting rid of something and destroying it first, as long as it represents the establishment. They're more willing to get rid of it first than to let it keep doing what it's doing and replace it with something better when they come up with something better. That to me would be responsible. If you're in federal government and you want to improve Obamacare, this is why we have the whole concepts of a plan thing, is because these nimrods would just rather do work as fast as possible in getting rid of what is considered establishment or what's considered status quo in favor of an idea. What? Nothing tangible, nothing real. And these guys to me are presenting a solution. They're presenting a solution for that. In that, oh well, this crypto based technocracy is going to have everything you needed as long as you fit in these certain buckets already. Super weird.
And here's the other thing. Why did they choose Republicans to Trojan horse this behind? Like,
that's an excellent question.
Why did they choose Republicans? You need to ask yourself these questions. Why didn't they choose the Democrats? Seriously, ask yourself that question. Why did they choose the Republicans to Trojan horse these ideas behind? It might be because Republicans are gullible. They're
gullible and they want to win. That's it.
Well, yeah, they just want to win. And also, quite frank, they live in these red states that are very low on education. Like, they rank very low in education. Like, they're taking advantage of you. It's so blatantly obvious.
Right. And they're using the public trust that's already been eroded by like Russian interference for the last so many years. Because anybody who's on Twitter needs to understand that a lot of what you are getting fed from Elon Musk is very heavily, in one way, shape, or form, it's heavily pro-Russia. People need to understand that. Because Musk and Putin are pals. They are pals.
Yeah, because let's take a look at Russia. Russia is a government that, has Putin, but is heavily controlled by oligarchs over there.
Yes.
They're all pursuing the same goal. They all have this money. Also, Musk might not even be the richest person in the world, because there's a chance that Putin's actually the richest person in the world. But he doesn't disclose anything. He doesn't disclose things about his finances.
Somehow
he might actually, he doesn't. He might actually be the richest person in the world. It might not even be Musk. So you got some of the richest people from some of the most powerful countries getting together to form these ideas. These ideas of creating these utopian societies, like, which is sounding very communist, by the way. I don't know if y'all are like aware of how communism is about about this idea that everybody's equal and it's this perfect utopia, like quote unquote.
There's the
that's
tenet,
the goal.
The one tenet it violates is there's no private ownership and
correct. Yes, this is the one thing. But it's I mean
this is like a technocratic oligarchical commune. Like is essentially what they're talking about. Yeah. That might be a ding ding ding. Write that one down, kiddos.
But yeah, that sounds like what they're going for. I mean, you got, and listen, there's been an increased number of Republicans figuring out what the fuck is going on finally, and I'm seeing a little bit more media, a little bit more like people coming out and being like, "Oh shit, we've been duped," right?
It's slow, but there are some.
It's starting to happen.
Yep.
And we told y'all that this was going to happen. Right. Now, and it's all because of these tech billionaires that all this shit is happening. All right? The Musk people of the world is the reason why it's happening. Okay?
Yep. I've said it so many times, and I the more I hear, the more true it becomes. The 2024 election was not stolen, but it was bought and paid for by Elon Musk.
Yep, exactly.
Plain and simple.
And if you're one of those Republicans that are listening to this and you're starting to think, oh, maybe these guys are right, or even if you have the slightest sliver of doubt in your mind, or I even dare say in your heart, I don't know if you have one, but if you have the tiniest sliver, you need to go in, do some research, and actually try to figure out if Trump is for you. Me and Bungie here already are telling you that they're not for us, but it's obvious as hell. All right, but you're not gonna take our word for it. Go in, do some research. Do not just jump into Newsmax or wherever that hell you're jumping into, and use that as your source. Twitter. Go through multiple sources. Yeah, don't use Twitter for love of God. No social media. Go through multiple sources, cross-reference them, and figure out what is true.
Also,
okay,
something I'm taking out of that I know Destiny referenced is when it comes to anything that's been a court case, you don't avoid looking up Associated Press or MSNBC or CNN. Avoid looking up things that media companies that discuss court cases, and look up the court documents. These things are often publicly available, and they will tell you everything you need to know. They will give you a very good overview. Maybe some details will be omitted or redacted because of identity protection reasons, or certain things might be privileged between client and their legal representation, lawyer, what have you.
Yeah.
But there, you'll get an idea of what the jury was looking at, and then you'll often arrive at you'll be like, oh, I see why the jury said that this guy was guilty, or why they held this guy liable, or what have you. It's the court documents are a big deal. Those are a great reference when applicable. It's not always that you can look those kinds of things up.
Right.
When applicable.
If you're starting to doubt, and you're like listening to our stream and you're starting to doubt some of the things that Trump and Elon Musk are doing, you're not alone. Like, there are other Republicans that are like starting to voice concerns. You're not alone, and it's okay to be wrong. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Yeah, me and Bungie are not the softest landing spot for you. We're not. We're gonna kind of be assholes about it, but that's because we've been telling y'all since 2016 that this is a fucking problem.
Right.
That Trump is a problem. And y'all didn't listen. I think you got to we're eventually cut you some slack, but you got to cut us some slack too. On us being a little bit of dickheads about things, because we've been trying to tell you, all right. But in the end, me and Bungie will always welcome you. In the end, especially if you are willing to admit that you're wrong and that you and you want to actually learn and grow. And if you don't have time for it, like I understand a lot of Trump supporters like actually don't actually take the time to do the research, and that's how they end up as Trump supporters.
Yeah.
And like 5 minutes right before you go to bed, literally just 5 minutes. Take one of the things that Trump says that seems outlandish and just Google it.
Right.
All right. And just go in there, go through multiple sources, and just see if what he's saying is true. And you'll find that I'm going to be generous here, 95% of the time he's wrong. He's lying to you.
He's a lie factory. I mean, there's no denying that Trump lies as easily as he does break wind.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just if he's opening an orifice, shit is coming out of it. It doesn't matter which end of him.
It's seriously like a part of the reason why y'all believe some of the shit he says is because he's said it over and over and over and over and over again, so you start to believe in it.
It's programming. It's literally propagandizing.
So that's literally all he's doing is repeating lies, and so you believe it. That's why he says like MAGA whenever they talk about say like the condoms that were sent to Gaza, right?
Right. Total lie. He pulled it out of nowhere, dude.
Yeah. Look, how many times has that number changed amongst MAGA, amongst Trump and the MAGA senators and Congress people? Like, how many times has that number changed? Like, because they don't have an accurate number because it didn't happen. They don't have an actual number for that. It's a lie. It's all bullshit. Like, you got to think critically about these. I know y'all are tired of hearing thinking critically. I seriously understand why Republicans are so tired of it, but we're seriously trying to help you. We're not against America, no matter how many times that fucking orange fuckwit says it. All right, I'm an Army vet. I used to vote Republican, but I fucking stopped once, especially when MAGA came around.
Right.
Because I figured the fuck out that they're not fucking for us. They're for these fucking billionaires. That's why they keep on giving them tax cuts. Like, you need to fucking stop and think. I know it's hard to listen to.
And since he's been inaugurated, has this motherfucker even said no tax on tips? By the way,
I think he has.
He's at least said it, but has he put anything forth to actually do that? I don't think so.
I think it's supposed to be part of the big tax package.
Is it an omnibus thing? Okay, well,
I think it's supposed to be part of the big tax
reconciliation. That's it. Budget reconciliation. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Trying to get his tax cuts attached to.
Yeah, which is not going to work.
Let's wait. I can't wait to see what happens to Bezos and Musk's and Zuckerberg's net worths when that goes through. Because
I don't think it's going to go through because their majorities are so slim in the House and Senate.
It doesn't matter, though. I don't think it matters. If it's budget reconciliation and it keeps the government funded, I hope the Democrats hold the line and vote against everything, even if it means a government shutdown. Because at this point, the Republicans have shut, especially, obviously the Republicans in the House, that's typically where the shutdown happens. But
the stock market's already fucked. Yeah. The stock market's already fucked. So you might as well fucking just shut the whole thing down and call these people like... They want to play chicken with the world's economy? Fine, let's fucking play chicken and let's win. Fuck them. It's going to fuck me over too, but I'm not going to fucking cave to billionaires.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to check something. I'm gonna go refill my water while I went back a little bit here so he could repeat the thing he just said.
They still controlled the land. Once Gray starts taking back control of the land, that they're really going to howl. As they start losing, they're going to whistle for backup from California and eventually DC. Okay, they're going to try to get executive orders or things like that, which means you're going to need to have sympathizers at the level of California and DC who will side with you enough to block those actions, number one. And or number two, you actually get to the level of a sanctuary city and you say, I dare you.
Keep in mind, actions like this are already being attempted in places like Solano County, where they're trying to build California forever, or the actions that Gary Tan is taking in San Francisco. But the people in these areas are putting up a fight, and it's costly and it's slowing everything down. Fortunately, Trump is talking about something called freedom cities, the creation of new cities on federal land.
Almost 1/3 of the land mass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination.
I wonder where he got that idea.
That was back in 2023. That's crazy.
This is where J.D. Vance comes in. J.D. Vance is seen as a mild-mannered, well-spoken success story, a populist who was born into tough circumstances in Appalachia, but managed to pull himself up by his bootstraps, graduate from Yale Law, become a best-selling author, become a tech venture capitalist, only to give all of that up for public service. When he was officially tapped on the shoulder for the vice presidential nomination, many of his former colleagues celebrated. Elon Musk, David Sachs, Mark Andreessen, and Balaji all tweeted their congratulations. After all, it was a strange choice for Donald Trump, especially compared to Mike Pence. But when it comes to J.D. Vance, a lot of people make strange choices. Peter Thiel invested $15 million in his campaign to become senator, the largest single donation to a Senate campaign in history. J.D. Vance is an extension of Peter Thiel. That doesn't mean that he is beholden to him, but it does mean that Peter Thiel has had such a huge influence on J.D. Vance's life that you cannot understand him without first understanding who Peter Thiel is.
I'm Peter Thiel. I build companies and I support people who are building new things.
I would say Peter Thiel is the most honest representation of what Silicon Valley is today. Worth up to $9 billion, extremely well connected. He started off as a member of the PayPal mafia, the guys who invented PayPal, and they originally intended for that to be a libertarian alternative to the US dollar. But when it wasn't that and they sold out, he used the money that he made from PayPal to invest in other companies, including being the first outside investor in Facebook. And today he has invested in a huge portion of the tech industry, including companies like Sam Altman's OpenAI. He's also a big deal in the tech defense sector. He owns Palantir, which is a surveillance software that is basically omnipresent in the US government. It's used by the CIA, FBI, ICE, Homeland Security, various police forces. Palantir is also used by private companies such as Cambridge Analytica. In 2009, Thiel wrote a manifesto called The Education of a Libertarian. In this manifesto, he disavows electoral politics and democracy because he doesn't trust the people with big decisions, and he's come to believe that democracy and freedom are inherently incompatible. Over time, he has talked extensively about finding areas where great men can make choices as they see fit, unbridled by the law. Thiel gave the Trump campaign $1.25 million.
What Trump represents isn't crazy, and it's not going away. He points toward a new Republican Party. He points even beyond the remaking of one party to a new American politics.
And in return, he got an office in the Trump Tower where he had the president's ear and suggested candidates for his administration. Some of his selections didn't make the cut, like Balaji, but some did. Michael Kratsios was put in as the Chief Technology Officer of the United States of America, a position I did not know existed, and Michael Anton was put on the National Security Council. Michael Anton wrote a very concerning essay called The Flight 93 Election, which I have linked below, and it is very enlightening about who Peter Thiel thinks belongs on the National Security Council. And remember Curtis Yarvin, who we were talking about before? He is often referred to as Thiel's in-house philosopher. Thiel has not only invested in a number of Yarvin's businesses, but he keeps Yarvin in his inner circle. Yarvin watched the 2016 election from Peter Thiel's house, where they celebrated with champagne at Thiel's successful investment in the Trump campaign. And while Peter Thiel may not be as explicit in his beliefs as someone like Balaji or Elon or even Mark Andreessen, Yarvin assured Milo Yiannopoulos over email that Peter Thiel was fully enlightened.
So she's probably going to explain it, but Milo Yiannopoulos, you know this name?
No, I don't.
What was it called?
Maybe I remember it or something if I look it up here.
What was it called? Breitbart? Yeah, I think Milo was he either hosted a show or he helped start career, this personal stuff. He co-founded the Kernel, Sentinel Media.
Interesting.
Breitbart, there it is. 2014.
He's part of the Gamergate thing.
Yes, which was all connected with MAGA and shit. Started writing for Breitbart in October 2015. Breitbart placed him in charge of its new tech section. The site had 6 full-time staff, including esports specialist Richard Lewis, blah, blah, blah. Gamergate. That's crazy. Damn, dude. Association with neo-Nazism and the alt-right. It's all connected, people. It's all connected.
Seriously, it's all connected. You are about to be ruled by actual fucking Nazis.
Right.
Holy shit. You know, some of you might be old enough. Your parents or great grandparents or for some of you who fought in World War II against Nazi Germany. People that are your direct descendant. It could even be a grandparent. And some of you old enough is your parent. Think about them rolling in their grave because you dumb motherfuckers can't connect all these fucking dots and see that there's just Nazis plaguing our fucking system right now and are trying to fucking overhaul it and overthrow it. My God, I keep on getting more and more fucking proof of this shit, and y'all keep on ignoring it.
Yeah, but they're Nazis in the cloud, so it's different.
All they do is hate other people that are not fucking white.
You're in good company, Anna.
And just plays it very carefully. People in the New Right circles refer to Yarvin as Lord Yarvin or the Prophet. This isn't someone on the fringe of the movement. This is someone who is respected. Just like Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance is an avid reader and friend of Curtis Yarvin.
There's this guy, Curtis Yarvin, who's written about some of these things.
Vance not only name checks Curtis Yarvin, but he often uses his languages and repeats his ideas.
You actually popularized the term red pill in the political context, is that right?
Yeah, that's actually true.
Is this concept of red pilling.
Yarvin writes a lot of strange things, but one thing I'm particularly interested in is the blueprint he wrote for Donald Trump. It's called The Butterfly Revolution. It's quite radical and another thing that would be easy to dismiss, but here's a clip of Yarvin talking about why he thinks it would be successful today.
Americans of 2024 are incredibly frivolous, incredibly ironic. It is the most ironic society in history. Like, imagine people trying to cope with a film like The Matrix or Inception in like 1960. Total frame breaking of this kind in some ways is actually easier than the sort of incremental political logic that people have employed in the past. They can sort of more easily imagine, oh man, it's all the Truman Show. In fact, they mostly already believe that it's all the Truman Show. They just don't understand the implications of that.
Something I find concerning is the many ways that the butterfly revolution perfectly aligns with Project 2025. Not a huge amount of the tech bros in Silicon Valley are religious, but that doesn't really stop these kinds of groups working together. Definitionally, both of these movements are fascistic. Fascism has never been a fully coherent ideology. That's one of the things that gives fascism its strength, its ability to bring together groups from different movements, all of whom see fascism as a viable mechanism to achieving their own program. And that's why some people say that fascism is always hyphenated. So it's always going to be tech fascism and Christian fascism, but these people can work together, and they do.
One of the things that evangelicals and libertarians should agree on is that the political order is not divinely ordained.
Amen.
Project 2025 has similar stated goals to the tech industry. In particular, the dismantling of the administrative state and the return of self-governance to the people. Project 2025 is made up of 4 pillars, and Pillar 4 is the playbook. It is a transition plan for the president's eyes only. It will be rolled out upon the president's utterance of "So help me God." We don't know what's in this playbook, but given the alignment of talk.
I asked, that's totally, where did she have that? Yes. I asked a while ago. I said that the 900-page document that we got, I think up to a year or two ago about Project 2025, that 900-page document, that was just pillar 1. So there are 3 other pillars that they will not release publicly to us. And I really, really am terrified to know what all is detailed in these pillars, these additional pillars.
Hey, are there any hackers out there? They need to go get on these people's computers and pull this shit out.
Yeah, I would love for that to be public. I would love for that to be public. China, if you're listening, I'm kidding, obviously. But yeah, let's see. Pillar 2 is a personnel database that allows candidates to build their own professional profiles and our coalition members to review and voice their recommendations. These recommendations will then be collated and shared with the president-elect's team, greatly streamlining the appointment process. So the Pillar 2 sounds like how we get Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi and Tulsi Gabbard and fucking Kash Patel. That's gotta be where that's coming from. Presidential Administration Academy, an online educational system taught by experts from their coalition. This is re-education, everybody. This is re-education. For the newcomer, this will explain how the government functions and how to function in government. For the experienced, it will host in-person seminars with advanced training and set the bar for what is expected of senior leadership. Pillar 4, the playbook. We are forming agency teams and drafting transition plans to move out upon the president's utterance of "So help me God." So we got to listen for any sort of Trump speech where he says these words. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that this is their signal?
Yeah, that's their signal.
I feel like Trump would, if that's correct, if that's correct, then I feel like Trump would, even just for the sake of the show, just to make it a thing, he would use these in some sort of public speech.
Yeah.
We are forming agency teams and drafting transition plans to move out upon transition plans. I don't know what that means, because they refer to president-elect up here, but if these are in a chronological thing, this is probably after he's. So what would they be what would they be transitioning to, huh? You think about that a little bit, everybody?
The burning of the Constitution and the establishment of an oligarchical...
The abandonment of American ideals for a technocratic network state?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Yeah. Going to Trumpaho. Trumpacy. Trumpifornia. Trumpifornia network.
Here's the good thing. I'm gonna put some positive in all this dark, gloomy shit.
They can achieve this, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think they can, because I think they're still underestimating the power of the people. Eventually, because these ideas are extreme, even for, like, I even think for some MAGA folks, this is like very extreme.
I think so too.
So Like,
and this is why, even though you and I are gonna be harsh towards some of these people, it is not a means of canceling you out of our culture or out of our lives. It is a means of really trying to just drill home that you fucked up. That you really fucked up, and that you listened to the wrong people and the wrong information in terms of you got lied to, you got duped, you guys have been manipulated into giving the levers of power to people who don't really give a shit about you. And that's what all this is to demonstrate. That's the whole point of this stream is, yes, we want a big tent and we would absolutely welcome former MAGA. But again, you have to have demonstrated that a willingness to grow and learn from your mistakes that to me is not necessarily a litmus test in terms of, can you be in the club or not? To me, it's a demonstration of you really truly learning, someone really truly learning and maturing and being like, okay, I recognize that, this is not the way, so to speak.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that you have to like vote Democrat either. Like,
sure.
It doesn't mean that. You could still vote Republican, but you need to vote for Republicans that are not funded by these tech billionaires. Like,
right. That want to work as a conservative within the American form of democratic constitutional Republican, as a democratically elected constitutional republic, right? If a conservative wants to operate within that framework, I'm all for it. I have no reason to believe that there should just be a single party system in any capacity, because that's never good. That is never good.
Yeah. Well, there's supposed to be competition in our political environment. We're supposed to compete, and because that drives home the idea of being for the people. But you need to look at like what these MAGA Republicans are doing. They're accepting money from these tech billionaire bros, and they're coining new terms like red pilling and things like that for you guys so that you buy into it.
Yeah.
And listen, you got to stop and think. There are Republicans out there that are fighting against MAGA right now.
Yeah.
You do not have to be MAGA. You don't have to be. But we are the people, right? We have the control, not the tech billionaires, not Donald Trump, not the people in Congress. It might seem like they have control, but the real control lies with us. If you start calling your Republican senators, your MAGA senators, and say you're not for this, and I'm never voting MAGA again, I'm going to vote for actual Republicans that stand for the original.
Yeah.
If you start doing that, these MAGA people will flip like a damn switch, because they have no loyalty to Trump. They have loyalty to themselves,
to their own power.
We can literally stop them altogether. All you have to do is stop believing the MAGA bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this.
That's why we're here to expose it. That's why we're here to expose it.
Exactly. Like the Doge thing. They've been putting out things like that the government's spending on, but have they provided any fucking proof? Have you seen any fucking proof from them other than their words, other than hearsay?
Nope. No, they have
none. Not. They provided no documentation, no
nothing showing a signature or a seal or a stamp of anything.
Nothing. But why is that the case? Why? You got to ask these questions. Like, why are they providing fucking information to us? Like, they said they found all this spending. Like, I'm pretty sure that they probably they probably did find some wasteful spending. I guarantee they did find some, but it's such a small fucking fraction.
It's huge, right? There's bound to be some money but again, and I think this comes back to, well, like wouldn't you want to run your business where you have as minimal wasteful spending as possible? Yes, and obviously the government should work to minimize waste, fraud, and abuse. Guess what? That's what inspectors general are for. And they do their jobs pretty well. They obviously they're going to go after the bigger fish, the bigger waste, the bigger fraud. Those things are going to be prioritized. And yeah, then maybe they'll go to like the smaller potatoes in there. But
listen, what was it, $50,000? What was it, $50,000 to a Latin American country for like a transgender play type thing?
That's what was alleged. I think a drag show or something, but
it was relatively accurate. Like I Googled it and did some research on it. It was relatively accurate, but I want you to take $50,000 and I want you to compare it to the entire U.S. budget.
Exactly.
I want you to tell me how we're going to miss that $50,000. I agree with you that it's wasteful and probably don't need to spend money on that, but why the fuck are we worried about $50,000 when we have tech billionaires doing their best to avoid taxes and exploiting loopholes in our system? Like why are we not going after that waste?
Right. We don't just have a spending problem. We have a revenue generation problem. And that is something that Elon Musk has not yet spoken about. I wonder why. Because he would be the biggest, fattest fucking source of fucking tax revenue if he paid his fair share like he's fucking supposed to.
Yep.
You can't see the conflict here, people? You can't see the conflict?
Yeah.
It's insanity, man. It's insanity.
Like seriously, we're talking about $50,000 for that one thing. Now there was a couple other things I was able to actually verify that were true, but they were that
could have meant a lot to that community to where it could have helped, boost something, morale or positive, whatever. Could have helped.
Well, it was diplomatic. It was completely diplomatic. It was an effort to build diplomacy between our country and another, and it was positive diplomacy. But besides that, I kind of agree we could use it, not spending money on those kind of things. I can agree with that. Like, okay, spend money here. I got it. But Trump isn't doing that. He ain't spending money here. Like, he is just. We gotta think about it. $50,000 is not even a drop in the bucket to the total amount of fucking money.
It's a drop in the ocean. It is a drop in the ocean.
It's not even a drop in the ocean, dude. It's fucking so tiny. It's so tiny. It is. I mean, we're talking about microscopic organism tiny, like in the ocean. That's how tiny we're talking here. Like, oh yeah, the Sesame Street show and. Yeah, that whole thing. Like, even $20 million is not a lot.
So here's New York Times' fact check. This is exaggerated. Her description of the awards were largely inaccurate for 5 of the 8 examples she listed. She was correct about the $20 million Sesame Workshop to produce a television show for young children called, I don't know what, Alan Sim Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
$4.5 million to advance integrity and accountability in the information space and build societal resilience in the face of disinformation in Kazakhstan. So we're trying to, help. We're trying. Yeah, I can see some of these having a good diplomatic reason behind them. Us having built trust with anybody in the Middle East is valuable right now, I think. And we're doing it in a non-violent way with this, right? USA.
This helps. It's not going to help a lot, but this does help stabilize the region in some way. But what Trump is doing with the Gaza thing, he's destabilizing the region.
Right.
We're going to be back in wars in that region all over again, and Americans are going to be fucking dying over there all over again.
Even if we don't go in with the intent to have armed conflict, anybody who goes in there and tries to say on the behalf of the United States and tries to start, say, cleaning up or developing or building, God forbid, Hamas is going to attack them straight up. They're going to get attacked.
All the terrorist groups in that region.
And then at that point, Trump's just going to use it as an excuse to initiate an armed conflict in the region. And Netanyahu's just going to be sitting in the fucking corner drinking an iced tea, loving that the U.S. is doing his work for him, his dirty work for him. That's insanity. Like, I can't believe this. So I got a quick message to any leftists or any protest voters out there. You're also to blame. You're also in part to blame on the Gaza thing. So many of you motherfuckers wanted to try and push this narrative that between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump that there would be virtually no difference to the people of Gaza. You look so stupid right now. You have so much fucking egg on your fucking face because you are being proven wrong. Because when you said, how could it get any worse for Gazans other than a G side? Well, how about a G side with a side of ethnic cleansing and Trump Tower
occupation
going up in fucking Gaza?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I didn't even think Trump was going to go that far, but that's what he's talking about doing. Again, I mentioned earlier, it could be a red herring. He may not actually do it. It could be to distract from Elon's coup within our own system to some degree, but it's still outrageous nonetheless. It's horrible to think about that happening without, even without the other context to it that they could be distracting from what Elon's doing. The idea of the U.S. simply taking over Gaza because we want a permanent ownership position there is really weird and bonkers. Just super, super translucently fucking transparently even fucking imperialistic of the Trump administration to even just suggest such a thing, let alone do a joint press conference with Netanyahu to announce it.
Hey, Fox News. I know a lot of Republicans watch Fox News. Like, listen, they're saying shit like, "Oh yeah, quench my imperialistic thirst" and everything like that. They're already prepping you for it. They're already prepping you. They're getting you fucking ready because they want you to want these things. They want you to want to invade countries, slaughter people and everything else and take their land from them. They want you
They need soldiers to do it. Like all those young men out there in their late teens and early 20s who just voted for Donald Trump. They want to motivate you to go fight for him too.
Yeah, it's all a trap. Y'all are all falling into a trap. And
indeed.
It's pretty fucking obvious to, me and fucking Bungie here because we were able to do the fucking research and we realized that there's connections to all this shit. It's fucking obvious.
And dots connect themselves too well. This goes. I had somebody.
And it's blatant.
I had somebody recently accuse me saying some of the things about what Musk is doing is like conspiracy based, and I'm like, listen. I get that it sounds crazy, but like this is all happening out in the open. Any of you can Google this shit. Period. Like
this isn't the flat Earth conspiracy nonsense.
No, this isn't QAnon either. It's far from it. QAnon was them looking at pizza ingredients and translating that to how like types of children that were being trafficked in. Like what the fuck?
That is so far-fetched.
That's such a weird stretch.
And Pillar 4 is the playbook. It is a transition plan for the president's eyes only. It will be rolled out upon the president's utterance of "So help me God." We don't know what's in this playbook, but given the alignment of talking points, key figures being involved in both, it wouldn't surprise me if it was similar to the Butterfly Revolution. And I think that's worth investigating. The Butterfly Revolution.
Oh, there we go.
Step 1. Campaign on autocracy.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no, other than day one.
Yavin says that Donald Trump should run on his autocratic ambition, but he should frame it as destroying an inefficient and unworkable system.
We are in the late Republican period. If we're going to push back against it, we have to get pretty wild and pretty far out there and go in directions that a lot of conservatives right now are uncomfortable with.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Step 2. Purge the bureaucracy. Curtis Yarvin refers to this as RAGE.
RAGE stands for retire all government employees.
And he has clearly influenced some very important people.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state.
And we know that Donald Trump would be open to rage because it sounds a lot like Schedule F, an executive order issued by Donald Trump in October of 2020. Schedule F would have essentially stripped protections from civil servants who didn't show enough loyalty to the president of the day, which is why Joe Biden rescinded this order the second he came into office in January of 2021, but Trump has said he plans to reinstate it.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively.
But how could you accomplish that so quickly? I mean, you need civil servants. Don't worry, Project 2025 is already on it. Pillar 2 of Project 2025 could be considered MAGA LinkedIn. This platform is designed to pre-stream candidates for their loyalty and streamline the appointments process.
We talk about conservative warriors, but we want people who've been canceled, who've kind of, figuratively given blood for the movement.
This is one of those things where if anybody with Anonymous or Lizard Squad, I think Lizard Squad is still a hacker collective. If any of you guys oppose any of this shit, how about we do a little DDoS of that professional website, eh? Wanna DDoS it? Hell, I wouldn't mind submitting, turning on a VPN and submitting fake profiles to it. That could be fun, just pretend to be like Ron Montgomery or some shit, like just some very average Anglo, white guy sounding name, and just go in there and use a stock photo of just some white guy and fucking just wreck their shit. I don't know. That sounds scary to me though.
You can join it right now. Then pair that with Pillar 3, which is an online education platform known as the Presidential Administration Academy, and you have preemptively educated all future employees on what is expected of them from the conservative administration. Step 3. Ignore the courts. According to Yarvin, the president should simply state that he believes Madison v. Marbury was decided incorrectly, declare a state of emergency, and that way Supreme Court rulings would be merely advisory.
When the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
But thanks to recent Supreme Court decisions, he may not even need to do that.
The High Court has just issued one of its most consequential rulings in recent decades, a decision that not only affects the 2024 race for president following last week's contentious debate, but also the future of the presidency itself.
Trump v. United States has laid the groundwork to ensure that Donald Trump can ignore the court. Now, the president has absolute immunity for core official acts and presumptive immunity for all other official acts, a distinction that has not been clarified by the court, with only a few examples being provided and absolutely no guardrails to stop the misuse of this decision being put in place.
Today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
Step 4. Co-opt Congress. Yarvin suggests that Trump handpick candidates for every single seat, with the sole criterion being personal loyalty to him. Because you can't have a parliamentary dictatorship if you don't have Congress. And while it seems like a big task, Yarvin assures us you only need a couple of $1 billion. I know some people with a few $1 billion. While Peter Thiel may have decided to sit this election cycle out, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, Brian Armstrong have not.
We got to get the congressmen elected and we got to get the senators elected, because we can take the Senate pretty easily. And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Step 5. Centralized police and government powers. In this declared state of emergency, Yavin suggests that Trump take direct control over all law enforcement agencies, federalize the National Guard, and effectively create a national police force that absorbs local bodies.
I think that actually the support of the Democratic public is a cipher. I think that actually all you need is command of the police.
This is so that a centralized police state can be created to back the power grab. And I'd say there's no way this could happen if Donald Trump hadn't tried to do it before. We know that he sent the National Guard during the George Floyd protests.
And then I was insistent on having the National Guard go in and do their work. It was like a miracle. It just, everything stopped.
And we know that he wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act.
If your state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Now, there are, of course, protections within the law, posse comitatus, to stop a president from doing this, but Donald Trump has found a loophole before. I'm sure he'll find one again, especially in a state of emergency where he has absolute immunity for core official acts. Step 6. Shut down
There's also
elite
more to
media
that
and
as
academic.
well. Like, we got to consider like the oh my god, UCMJ, which is basically military law. You gotta consider take that into effect. Like, there's a good chance that if Trump orders like the active military into something, I actually I'm willing to say that it's more than likely that the U.S. military would tell them to fuck off. Just because of UCMJ and the laws that are bound to them and the laws that are currently in place within the federal government itself. So they would more than likely tell him to fuck off just because it would be likely an illegal order that he would have to try in order to get that to go through. Yeah, we had fucking Hegseth in there, but as I was reminded a couple of days ago, really it's not.
Is he not able to just indiscriminately fire people? Is that something that's out of his? I'm genuinely asking.
No, he could get rid of like top generals. Like, he can still do that, but it's not. Here's the thing: the officers are few, but the enlisted soldiers are many.
Right.
The officers are. First of all, I think more officers are going to side with the people than they are with Trump. Like, they're going to side with the Constitution more than Trump because. College, they're college educated. There's very smart people, but also there's a lot of enlisted soldiers that are not going to roll with this. I mean, we're talking about like maybe like I don't know what was the split in the election between active duty soldiers on votes. Let's see here. I can't remember. Let's see. Not veterans. I'm trying to look for like a source here. Like the split isn't like what people think. Like, it's not like a 80% of the military is Republican. It's not that. It's much closer than that. Let's see
I imagine it's fairly representative of the United States, right? Where it's
pretty 50-50.
It's generally 50-50 for the most part, except for certain issues it'll probably deviate wider than others. And that may be where there's some difference in the military, right? Is maybe when it comes to, you know, my hope, for example, is like, let's say that the general public felt that during protests of George Floyd's death, George Floyd's murder. Let's say that if there was the general public was polled on that, they might be more likely to favor military intervention. But I think the military, say military members were also polled on that, I think that I would hope rather that they have a higher percentage of people who are against military intervention on a protest like that, because that's using the US military against civilians. And as we both know, that's something that is sworn by oath, correct? Haven't you said that? Or is that in the Constitution and that's how they swear the oath to that? Is no harm against US civilians?
It's in the Constitution. The oath is to the Constitution itself.
Right. And that is within the Constitution. Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, it's just the Constitution, as we're I think sort of illustrating, the Constitution seems to be only as good as the people who believe in it.
Yeah, true.
Right? And we have to make sure that these people stay around to follow it and not just follow Trump's orders the way he wants to fit, or just follow Musk.
Right. And this is I think what Republicans need to realize is that you're not voting for the Constitution anymore. You're voting based on your loyalty to one man.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Even just if they justify the entity of MAGA, right? Like you're suddenly throwing the views and beliefs and opinions of people who of all sorts of innocent people out the door because of that. Oh, that would be tragic. I don't see that being a super popular thing amongst military officers or anybody below the officer rank, right? Like I don't see that being popular, period, in the military.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. And like I said, there's UCMJ we have to consider too. Like I'll do some research on the laws for UCMJ and I'll let you know.
Cool.
But I know UCMJ will halt a lot of this stuff.
Okay. Hey, that's good, man.
Just because they operate on a separate thing, like a separate set of laws, not only just the U.S. law, but they have the Uniform Code of Military Justice laws that are a factor, and I don't remember what's in them because I haven't served in the military since 2017, so I don't remember anymore. But I'll look into them and see what I can find out.
Okay, sounds good.
Institutions. Yavin has explicitly said that you cannot have a New York Times or a Harvard past April. He has a popular theory that true power in America is held by something he calls the cathedral, a term that should alert you whenever you hear it to this kind of thing. The cathedral is made up of elite media and academic institutions that, according to Yavin, set the bounds of acceptable political discourse and distort reality to conform with their ideological beliefs.
The cathedral is essentially performing the functions that a ministry of truth would perform in a classic Orwellian, environment, and it's performing the functions that a religion would in a classic theocracy.
Therefore, existing media and academic institutions need to be dismantled. Vance has been quite vocal about his disdain for academic institutions, despite graduating from Yale, and often repeats Yavin's ideas in his own words.
So much of what we want to do in this movement in this country, I think, are fundamentally dependent on going through a set of very hostile institutions, specifically the universities, which control the knowledge in our society, which control what we call truth and what we call falsity, that provides research that gives credibility to some of the most ridiculous ideas that exist in our country. And so I think if any of us want to do the things that we want to do for our country and for the people who live in it, we have to honestly and aggressively attack the universities in this country.
Trump has said that if elected, he will reclaim the universities from the Marxist maniacs and lunatics who currently control them. How will he do this?
When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. We will then accept applications for new accreditors who will impose real standards on colleges.
In his Agenda 47, Trump has proposed a law to monitor universities for civil rights violations.
Good. On US MCJ? Is that what you said?
Yeah, on the UCMJ.
UCMJ. Oh, I was like, where? Man.
Yeah. So it specifically referencing in articles 90, 91, and 92. If a order, so the whole premise here is that is to empower soldiers to disobey unlawful orders. UCMJ actually encourages soldiers to disobey unlawful orders.
Okay.
Because it legally obligates them to disobey. So if say a order comes down from Trump and Hegseth goes for it too, and he gives it to the officers and whatnot, the officers are legally required to question whether or not the orders are legal. If they even get the slightest idea that it is unlawful, they are legally obligated to deny that order. They have to deny it. If they do not, then they can be subject to breaking the law. Then they get they have to go to court and everything else, and we have to do the whole legal system thing.
Right. Okay.
So they have to legally look at every order. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, if they have to, so if they're going to face a judge, who do you think is bringing that? Who and it may not be in there, but who would you think is bringing that lawsuit? Or who's trying to charge that person? Would it be a federal prosecutor, or would it be, what do you think?
It would probably be
a military
federal
prosecutor.
It would be a military prosecutor more likely.
Okay, that makes me feel better than a federal prosecutor.
Yeah, it'll be somebody that's in military law. Here, I'll even look up who would prosecute that. Give me a sec.
Okay. If you've got it, I'm curious.
I want to say it's like JAG or something. Yeah, it would be JAG. They're military lawyers. The Judge Advocate General Corps.
Okay.
So yeah, they would review it. Let's see here. Yeah, so basically what happened, let's say we'll trickle this down a little bit. So let's say an officer gets the order.
Yeah.
And he commands his soldiers to
carry out the order.
Carry out the order. But the vast majority of them refuse because they view it as unlawful. Well, then that officer will likely recommend them for what's it called? God dang it. Come on, brain.
Not a tribunal.
It's court martial.
Court martial. Okay.
They'll recommend it for a court martial. Then the JAG officer, who is it's a military lawyer, is going to look at it.
Okay.
They're going to be the ones that are going to prosecute that.
I see. Okay.
If the JAG lawyer looks at it no, he's right, it's an unlawful order, he doesn't have to obey you, then it's over and done with.
Right.
It's dead in the water right there and then. So that's how it kind of trickles down.
And that takes a lot of time, Right.
Yeah, it does. You think our current government's slow? Wait until you get involved with the military. Like that shit super slow.
Right.
So
That makes sense.
So yeah, in the end, I think the military. There's enough. The split is pretty 50-50. I think
it's a lot harder to corrupt. It sounds like
it's a lot harder, and they designed it on purpose for that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They wanted to make it difficult to corrupt. They wanted the military to be this robust entity that their sole purpose is to uphold the Constitution, and that's the whole point of the military is uphold the Constitution. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for all these tech billionaires and Trump and his administration is getting past them. Honestly,
the military.
Getting past the military. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get past the military because they do one step too far, and the military doesn't want to do this, and the military does its best to stay out of politics.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be independent from it. But it will be required by law and by the Constitution for them to boot them people out of office. Like they will have no choice but to obey the Constitution at that point. So, I mean, unless they want to face the possible legal actions involved with it and try to disobey, which again, the active duty military is a very small percentage of the total population of the United States. So you're going to go against the people. I doubt the military is going to do that. So if enough people are loud and are done with the Trump administration and tech billionaire stuff, and then they try to do an illegal order, the military is going to side with the people Secret Service, yeah. You're just seeing what their role would be in that.
Well, that's my thought is like, I understand that, like, a guy like Musk, I don't think has Secret Service protection. I sincerely hope not.
No, he has private security.
So I think guys like Musk would go down, but I think with Trump having his immunity from the Supreme Court and that what I just read there, it sounds to me like Trump would never go down for any of this. Not till he's out of office. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, unless he does something like super like blatant against the Constitution, that's the only way I can see him going down.
And then that was my next question is if there's a situation where he is being lawfully removed, let's say impeachment and conviction actually happens. I don't feel like that would actually happen. But let's say impeachment and conviction happens and he tries to stay in power and the Secret Service has no job above protecting the president. I see a conflict. I see a conflict where military is, having to have a standoff with Secret Service to get the president. If that ever happened, you know what I mean? That sounds the military would win. That sounds like obviously that sounds like a potential constitutional crisis there, if you ask me.
It just becomes asking those Secret Service members, are you willing to die for that man? Like, are you willing to die for him? Because
right at that point, I think most of them are like pledged to be like yes, but it's like, to me, it's like, you're not talking about an assassin's bullet, right? You're talking about
him being held to
you're talking about him being held to being removed through a lawful process. I would imagine that they would stand down given those circumstances.
I think they would have no choice in the matter unless you want to have I don't know if you want to have a standoff with the U.S. military. That sounds like a fucking losing situation no matter what.
It sounds like a guaranteed, having your fate sealed, whether you stand off for a really long time and create a problem and just get, if I was
one of the Secret Service people, I'd say, fuck it, I'm retiring. Like, right. You can have the man.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, hey man, listen, this is what the law is doing. I'm not gonna say, this, to me, no president is above the law, period. Nobody's above the law, I would say, right? So
Yeah.
I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment.
That means he could essentially put an institution like Harvard out of business overnight. Elon Musk spends a significant portion of his time trying to undermine existing media in favor of his own platform X. Trump has absolutely no problem getting rid of legacy media. He has repeatedly talked about the government's licensing of broadcast airwaves and about 15 times threatened to revoke licenses of existing stations.
And it's frankly disgusting the way the press is able to write whatever they want to write. And people should look into it.
Step 7, turn out your people. Get your people out in the street to show their
You heard it there, everybody. Donald Trump doesn't believe in the First Amendment. I can't say I'm surprised, but some people might find that surprising.
Oh, I found this other piece here.
Sure.
So apparently, civilian courts would ultimately decide the legality of an order.
If it was not decided in the military, you're saying, or
yeah. If it wasn't, so it would come down to JAG officers, senior commanders, and potentially civilian courts would ultimately decide the legality of the order.
Wow.
So a civil court could literally get involved.
Right. That's wild, dude. I mean, that's good to know.
A big check.
I guess.
Yeah, it's a big check.
Yeah. It's you know, and I like this whole like she's she's comparing this butterfly revolution to the fourth pillar of Project 2025. Yeah, to me, and that was the first thing I thought is when they just said ignore the courts. I'm like, well, that sounds easy to say, but like, you know, and I think we talked the other night, what's the mechanism look like? And we'll go into that because I still have the notes from that conversation in our doc. So we'll go into that, but you know, it's like, so what's the enforcement arm of the judicial branch? And there's thankfully some answers for that. And again, it all comes down to, you know, our people that are in our government systems, our various, you know, government institutions and whatnot, are they going to be loyal to the Constitution? And the truth is that they have to be. And
yeah, because then they're jeopardizing themselves.
That's
at that
where
point.
all my hope is. That's where all my hope is, man. Is on people being loyal to the Constitution who need to be. And it's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, do you want to take the risk of trying to appease Trump and doing something against the Constitution and it later backfiring and you ended up in a federal prison? Or do you want to just follow the Constitution and do the right thing? And you
law. Yeah.
And guess what? You're free and clear.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
you did the right thing in the end. You won in the end.
Just lock arms with your brothers and sisters and say, no, we do not support this, and we are going to uphold our oath to the Constitution. We're going to defend the Constitution, and you're not going to get away with this subversion that you're attempting. And then at that point, these guys have nothing. They have nothing. And that's what they're banking on. Is they're banking on people just giving up. Nobody, people in the who work in the federal government, people who vote for, you know, officers in the federal government, and, you know, officers in the military, you know, service members in the military, we cannot give up, because the moment we give up is the moment they win. Period.
Yep.
That's
cannot give up.
This, I think.
Support for you anytime a government agency tries to obstruct you. Yavin says this should be like the post-Soviet revolutions. It should be masses of people. It should be joyful. And we know that Donald Trump has no problem in asking people to physically show their support for him.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
Once this butterfly revolution has taken place and the presidency looks more like a CEO or a king, the court of tech geniuses will have a much more realistic shot at getting what they want. One thing I can tell you about these Silicon Valley tech bros is that they are long-term thinkers. They are planning for years and years and years into the future. In case you needed more evidence that Silicon Valley and Project 2025 are in bed together, there is this strange tech conference called Reboot. And in September, at the last Reboot conference, which is all about creating a new reality, there was a special secret guest speaker. That secret guest speaker ended up being Kevin Roberts, who gave a speech titled Tech and the American Republic. The point of trying to put Vance in the VP position wasn't just to have him one heartbeat away from an old and ailing president. It was to introduce him to the world as the new blueprint of the Republican Party, to provide a strong option for a post-MAGA Republican Party, a party that will co-opt the government to destroy the country in order to allow self-described great men to install themselves as mini kings.
Very well done video. Like I said, I hadn't watched that, didn't know anything about it going into it. I you know, this is the type of person that you can say, I hope she's wrong. Right? Like
I hope she is.
At the end of the day, I hope that there's a couple things in there that she got wrong, but it's very compelling. And it just, I guess, for the sake of argument, if you take it as truth, all those things we talked about, the military, you know, all these people needing to follow the Constitution and see that as the guiding principle, those are the people that need to be that need to stand out. And as far as voting this type of shit out of office so that they never get these opportunities ever, she's talking about them planning for far in the future. They're as that, you know, she implied there at the end, it's so that when Trump is done, when his time in politics is done, whether it's because term limits or what have you, they want JD Vance, who seems to be much more of a like kind of a yes man when it comes to like the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. They seem to be, you know, wanting to run him as their guy in the future, because he sounds like it sounds to me like he doesn't even need to be bought like Trump. You know, it sounds to me like he's just willing to do it. And that's I think the what you know she's getting at there is that it's like, I think we are in the time frame where we can stop this type of thing. So when it comes time that we vote in 2028, if we get another Democratic president in there, I you know, we have to make sure that they don't upend our electoral process between now and then. If we can hold our electoral process, we probably will get a Democrat in 2028. And in which case, these tech billionaires will probably simply just play along for a while and be like, don't worry, we'll get to do our thing in the future. We'll get to do our thing in the future, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to keep planning, right? So in that time, from 2028 to 2032 and beyond, we have to reinforce our institutions. We have to pass laws that better protect these institutions. We have to pack every court. I don't give a fuck. We need to, whatever way Democrats need to pack courts, we need to pack courts. And I think the Supreme Court needs to be done too. We cannot let a MAGA dominant rather judicial system take hold in this country, because that to me seems to be the final line, is the judicial system.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it's because the judicial system will be providing orders to they help interpret law, right? Judges help interpret law. So who's to say that the military won't suddenly be like, well, I guess, you know, going after these anti-Trump protesters, even though they're nonviolent, I guess going after them with violence is now considered the law. So I guess I'm not breaking the law. I'm still following the Constitution or what have you, just because a bunch of MAGA judges are in place to now interpret it as such. That to me is like that. If that type of thing ever starts to happening, that's like, I'm getting out. I'm out of here at that point. Like, you know, I don't want to ever give up on fighting for this country, but like if every single branch is potentially compromised and the military is willing to accept those new interpretations by blatantly like partisan judges, then we're cooked, man. I mean, we're so cooked, because at that point it's whatever they want, you know. Maybe they don't do the most extreme stuff at first, but at that point it's like a moving train that can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And you know, you won't that 19, you know, that comparison. I think I want to say I talked about last week, that comparison of 1933 Germany to 1943 Germany. That's how you get on that track, is all institutions just simply moving forward with a MAGA agenda, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That was a pretty dark video, though. Good Lord, I hope some of that's wrong.
And that's why I say, like, I hope that, like, she's incorrect.